I'm Taryn, and today I'm hanging out with one of our Greater One-horned Rhinos, or otherwise known as Indian Rhino. This beautiful creature here, his name is Dora. Now Dora is our 20-year-old male, and he's one of only 2 Indian Rhinos in this entire region, so he's pretty special. Now, one of the big differences that you may notice between these guys and the African species that I suppose are a little bit more well known, in fact I find most guests have never even heard of the Indian Rhino. If you can see him, we might get some footage of him later, he has these big folds of skin. They almost look like armoured plating, and essentially that's exactly what they are. They do act like armoured plating. Now the reason being, it may seem a little bit strange, but if we have a look in Dora's mouth here, up here buddy, you'll see he's got 2 pretty impressive teeth in the bottom part of his jaw there. Now I know that sounds really strange, but if you were to look in the African species mouths, what you would see is they don't have any front teeth whatsoever. So that's one big difference between the Asian species and the African species. And of course, they have the teeth, they're going to use them. So they do tend to bite each other a fair bit. The males will bite each other in combat, and the males and females will actually bite each other in courtship as well. So having those big folds, those excess skin folds, do help to protect all the important things that are underneath them. You can see especially around his neck area, he has lots of folds, just helping protect that jugular. Indian rhinos aren't the largest species technically in the world. He sits at about 2 tons, so he is pretty big, but white rhinos, they'll get a little bit larger. They get closer to the 3-ton mark. However, we do like to say that Indian rhinos are the tallest species. So as you can see, he is pretty tall. He's almost my height here. And now in the wild, there are about 3,500 Indian rhinos still left on the planet today. They're not doing as well as what the African species are. So we've got 5,000 black rhinos, there's a fair few more of the white rhinos, so only about 3.5 left of these guys at the moment. Now, unfortunately, like all rhinos, they have been poached for their horn. Just going to finish him, that's the last bit of food I had. Finished. So like I was saying, unfortunately they have been poached for that horn that you can see. Now Indian rhino horns don't seem to be or they're not usually as impressive as the African species. You can see his is a little bit smaller, but that horn is still worth a lot of money on the black market. Now it is used in traditional Eastern medicine, but unfortunately the sad thing is there is no medicinal purpose hidden in that horn. It's just made out of keratin. It's exactly the same stuff as our fingernails and our hair. So it is really sad to see so many rhinos disappearing from the world each and every year for what is essentially a useless cause. Luckily, the Indian rhinos, they are actually a bit of a success story. Now I know 3,500 animals doesn't sound like a lot, but at some stage these guys were down to about 100 animals. So that is a big win for wildlife, to go from 100 animals up to 3,500. And this is why we're here today. A lot of that growth in their population is due to a lot of conservation methods going on around the world. So there are people on the ground protecting their habitat, and of course we're also breeding them here in zoos, which is why our 2 rhinos are here today. We do hope to get calves out of them in the future, and of course that is so important to a species that is slowly disappearing from the planet.